girls, and welcome to another episode of the Hey Girl Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jen Parker, along with my girl, Bethany Needham.
What up?
And you're so dorky, but I love you.
Sorry.
And today we thought we would bring you just another real talk episode that's just Bethany and I just chit-chatting as if you were sitting down for coffee with us, just to give you a little update on the real things going on in our lives right now. Because last time we did Real Talk, it kind of felt really heavy. Yeah. And we just want to update you about those things. We don't want to leave you hanging because we're all about running your race in your place. And we want you to know where we're at running our races and just being transparent and vulnerable with you lovely listeners. So without further ado, Bethany, if we were sitting down to coffee, I would be like, so how are you? How are you really doing? How are things with KK?
Oh, we're gonna start right out the gate.
Yeah, we're gonna go right, because like if we're sitting down for real, we don't throw any punches. We just go. We don't have time to be like, oh, blah blah blah, the weather. No, we go in. We go for it.
It's so true. We wouldn't have casual conversation anyways. Okay, so update on KK. It's been a couple of weeks now since KK went home to be with Jesus. It's been a hard road. I mean, we were definitely kind of preparing and moving in that direction for a while. I think even in our last Real Talk, that was the place that we were. But it was a longer road from when we kind of knew this is where we were going to actually saying goodbye than I realized it would be. And then when we reached that place, I can't even describe, like, it was a weird set of emotions, and they were never that predictable or I don't even know, but this is what I'll say. She passed away a couple of weeks ago, and it was harder on my kids than I knew it was going to be. And then as a mom, that was really hard to watch their hearts broken. And not that I didn't think that they would be sad, but just, I think I had been walking with Tanya and KK and ministry people for so long that I hadn't really stopped and paused to really feel those feelings with my own kids, or to see that expressed in them quite like I did the night that I had to tell them what had happened. And so that was rough.
Yeah.
So KK and Tanya had already put together these plans for this celebration of life. They didn't want a funeral. They didn't want black. I remember KK being like, no sad music. Like, that was like her big thing. Like, I don't want sad music. And so the actual night of her celebration of life was the most beautiful event I think that I have ever been a part of. And definitely one of the hardest things that I've ever done in all of my years of ministry. Leading up into the day, I'll be honest, like, I wasn't feeling that emotional. Like, there was stuff to be done. We were getting ready for it. They had themed it Patriots and Princesses, which was so KK and Tanya. It was so perfect. And watching our church rally and come together and plug in and use their gifts, whether it be making balloon towers that looked like castle towers made out of balloons with, like, so when you went in the doorway of the sanctuary, like, it looked like it had a drawbridge, like it looked like you were entering a castle. And our designer just making this beautiful graphic of KK with the combination of Patriots and Princess theming, like, just so many things, from cakes to photo collages. And so when I arrived that Friday night, I knew that I was going to have to get up on the platform and speak. And it hit me really hard walking through the door. Like, being totally honest, I thought for sure I was going to have an anxiety attack. Like, my chest was really tight. It was hard to breathe. And at the same time, I knew, like, I need to do this. And so that evening, people piled in. There must have been close to, if not more than 600 people that came into that room. And just to see a room filled with tutus and Patriots jerseys, and I just thought there was this beautiful picture of the influence that KK and Tanya have had these last years, and how KK's life has just touched so many people, because it wasn't just our church. There were doctors and nurses. Her biological grandmother came to her funeral. Like, I got to meet her for the first time, because KK obviously was adopted by Tanya, so she had not been in her life, and she got to be there that night and see this picture of the life that KK lived and how she influenced people. And I just think that was incredible. I am so grateful to God and his strength that I was able to get up and speak and not fall apart. And it was honestly a privilege to get to speak of this girl. And Tanya got up after me, and I lost it at that point. But just sharing the story of how God brought their lives together and the way that God worked in that. And we joked like she could have totally dropped the mic and walked off after that. Like, it was just amazing. And then Pastor Derek, my boss, got up and shared more about KK, but also got the chance to share the gospel and what it is that, the hope that KK had and why she was so eager to be with Jesus. And just that got shared in front of all of these different people. I just think it's amazing. So that's been in the last couple of weeks. I think the hardest thing since, and I've not walked through this kind of loss with a friend before, is I almost think when they're in the hospital, it's sometimes easier to know what, like, to show up. But when it's all done and the fanfare kind of dies down and everybody just goes back to normal life, like, that's such a hard thing to know how to do. And so as a church staff person, as a youth pastor, in all my different roles, I feel like I've come out of this really emotional time, like, and am just now starting to feel the weariness of that. Like, I'm tired. But life for a lot of people are like, oh, okay, so we're on the other side, so it's go time.
Right.
And that's been really hard. I had to I'm gonna be a wreck today. I had to go into our camp registration and delete KK's registration off of and I just sat at my desk and I couldn't even hit the button for the longest time, because I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, I know obviously she's not going to camp, but in the moment, just the idea of going to camp felt like too much to do that. And so that's been where I'm at, to be honest. Real talk. I'm tired, and I feel like more of a wreck now than I was like 3 weeks ago. But some of that is letting myself feel this last month and not being afraid of my own emotions. Sometimes I can do that. I think if I let myself feel this, it will drown me. And
well, and I think too, because you are Tanya's friend and you're on staff with her and you're a youth pastor, you're shepherding so many other people first, and your own kids. And so you're doing that like triage ministry of, I'm going to love you. I'm going to be there for you. And so you don't dare open that dam of your emotions, because if that dam breaks, now I know it feels awful to be like emotional and just like, wait, it's been 3 weeks. Like, why am I just now? It's because now you can kind of be like, wait, everyone else has had they've started their grieving, and now I can start my grieving too. So I hear you on all that for sure.
Yeah. So that's where things are at. I actually was writing today. I was like, I need a goal, something to like tangible. And the only thing I could write down was to turn the tide. I feel like right now I've been going in this, just going with the flow of things. And I almost have this image. I went whitewater rafting a couple summers back, and there was a certain point in the river where they're like, okay, so this is the point. If you want to, jump out of the boat and feel what it's like to like be with your life jacket just going in the rapids. Like these are safe enough rapids. And I'm an adventurous, but sometimes that leads me to do dumb things, which I would put this on the list of like, that was the dumbest idea ever. But I went ahead, I jumped in with like a few of my students, and they teach you how to like keep your feet up so you don't hit rocks, whatever. And it was scarier than I thought it was going to be. But when you're in there, all you can do is let the rapids, like you're just focused on breathing at the right times. And what you were just saying, feeling at the right, like, I feel like that's kind of where I've been is, okay, this is an okay time to feel and to breathe. Okay, this time I actually need to hold my breath because, you know, like in a river, there's a wave on my head. This is not a good time to take a deep breath. And there was a point where the guy in the boat was like, okay, it's time to start swimming, like swim to grab onto the boat because the rapids ahead were getting a lot higher. And so I did. I started swimming, but I quickly heard one of my students screaming like, it's too much. And she was basically like, I'm too tired. I can't stroke or swim. And the guy's yelling like, you have to, like, you have to fight against it. Like, you can't just let it keep carrying you. It's time to start swimming. And I just have this, it's a crazy memory of being a youth pastor being like, I'm going to lose a child. But I started like swimming down and grabbed her life jacket and just started stroking like, we're going to stroke together and we're going to get to that boat. And we did. And we were fine. But I feel like today is one of those days where I'm like, God, I have been just letting myself float and go down and just focus on breathing and not breathing. But I actually need to start turning the tide a little bit here. Like I need to start setting patterns back. Like I need to get into his word more regularly and not just ride I want to sleep every extra second I can because I'm exhausted. Not that sleep isn't good, but if I don't start making choices, I know myself well enough to know that I'm just going to I'm too tired and I'm just going to let the tide take me. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Whew.
I just thought I'd make it real heavy at the beginning there. Good,
that's good.
So, Jen, how are you?
See, I'm kind of a cheater. I'm going to say that. Because last night, I just had to take a sip of my seltzer before I started talking.
Fair enough.
So last night as I'm doing dishes, I was like, oh, we should do a real talk podcast and then I thought of what I would say and there were 3 things. And so this morning when you were like, hey, let's do a real talk, I was like, yeah, I got things to say. So first thing I want to start with is we went to a wedding this weekend, which I know I always say this thing is my favorite that I went to, or these people are my favorite. But this wedding was 2 of our youth group kids from 2 families that we know both the families so well. Like one family, the bride's family, like they are like tight to us. Like my kids call them auntie and uncle, like super close to them. And this wedding was so like the word that I just kept thinking of, and like even like Sunday when we were at church and just talking to people like who were there, you know, we just kept saying it was so joyful. And once their pictures are up, I'm literally going to link them to our Hey Girl stuff because you have to see them. Like they're just, they both love the Lord. They're just like they love each other so much and you can see it. Like, you know, when you just see it. So all this to say, like, it was such a beautiful wedding, and like everyone was like cheering for them. Like when they walked down the aisle after they said, "Oh, they're man and wife," like everyone was just like, "Woo!" And it wasn't just like that polite, like, "Oh yay!" Everyone was literally like exuberant, like, "Yay!" Side note, well, not side note, but like just this thing that we keep talking about, like joy and pain walking together. So this was kind of like aside from like going to church on Sunday. This was like our first like social event where we see people since we've known that Charlie has cancer. Yeah. So I was a little apprehensive because you just don't know what people are going to say sometimes, you know? And I will just say that every single person I talked to, I cried with them. And I think the thing that got me the most was, just that people kept saying, we're praying for you, and our kids are praying for Charlie. And that just touches my heart so much to know, like, his little buddies are just literally praying their hearts out for him. So many people. It was so loving, so great. And so that was super awesome. So again, just that idea of joy and pain walking together. Super joyous day, but also like we're still living with cancer and we're still walking that road. And just for an update on that, like this week, like I was so prepared, like, because he was supposed to go in and for an overnight because he needs these 3 chemos and it takes like 16 hours. Like it's just a really long thing. So they're super smart and they do it overnight. So a little kid isn't like, crazy all day or 16 hours. So I was like all like mentally preparing myself for, okay, we're going to spend the night in the hospital. He may have side effects, making sure that the other kids are taken care of, making sure that Ben's good. Like he's going to come to the hospital at this time. And then Charlie's counts were so low. Like I'm trying to explain this well because there's a lot of medical things that I'm still learning for the first time, but his ANC count was 300 and it needs to be at least 1,000 for them to give him chemo, just because he'll be so susceptible to picking up germs and other things that it's just not wise to give it to him. So here I was like gearing myself up for this whole thing of like spending the night. And then it was, just kidding, you're going home at 1:00. And I cried my eyes out because I am a planner, and it also just caught me so off guard that I was just like, what? Well, what do you mean we're not staying? So we'll try tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday, and we'll see. And I'm just learning more and more that to keep my hands open to what God is going to do in all this. And on our page, Pray for Sir Charles, like people just wrote like the sweetest things. Cause I wrote like that I was just discouraged and it's hard. And people were like, cause I felt this like mother guilt. You think mother guilt is real? Cancer, a mother of a kid who has cancer guilt, 20,000 times worse. Like it's awful. So I just thought like, oh my gosh, did I do something? Like, did I put him around too many people? And people are like, that is Satan's lies to you. And this is still God's plan. Like maybe Thursday is a better day for some reason, And I just like in those moments, I need to hear that truth from other people because you just feel so defeated and so just discouraged. So that's an update on Charlie. And so, yesterday I was feeling kind of mad at God. Like I'm just, I would say mildly annoyed with him.
Mildly annoyed because I get it. Like cancer, like it's going to hit anybody. And why not me? Why not us? But I was just annoyed that it's just hard sometimes. And I was annoyed with God and mad. And then I was just like thinking about my feelings about that. And I thought of this quote from C.S. Lewis. And it says, anger is the fluid love bleeds when it's cut. Now, mind you, I wrote this down as an angsty teenager because like, oh, love, blah, blah, blah. But like now it just holds so much because like if I didn't love God so much, like I wouldn't be mad at him. And being mad, just like with Ben or like any relationship, like these are just feelings. Like I'm allowed to be mad. It's not going to change God's love for me. It's not going to change his promises. It doesn't change his word. And it doesn't change my faith. Like I know that I can be mad and I can still love him with my whole heart. And I can rest in that and rest that I can feel my feelings, but know that my faith still stands and that even more than that, like God's truth still stands. And the thing that I've been doing every morning, just because like I could spiral very quickly, is that I write down 10 things I'm thankful for every day. And I write down at least one Bible verse that's just like speaking to me. And the crazy thing is like,
there's so many Bible verses in the Bible verses in the Bible. That's weird. Verses in the Bible about like hard things, like, and like God is there. Like 1 Chronicles 16:1. Seek the Lord in the strength he gives. Seek his presence continually. And this one, Psalm 27:14. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage. Yes, wait for the Lord. And I'm just like, okay, that's what I'm clinging to today. That's my verse. That's what I'm going for. And that helps me get through the day. And a lot of times people will say to me, like, how are you doing? And my answer is, I'm doing it one day at a time, because that's all I can do. Like, I can't look forward to the future. I can't look back. There's no going back. But I'm going to be in this day. I'm going to do the best I can. Yep, I'm going to have some feelings. And I'm okay with that. But my God is big. And I'm going to put my faith in him every single day. So, whew.
I love that. It's interesting because we didn't discuss at all what we were going to talk on this. We just went into it.
Surprise!
But I'm sitting there thinking, like, how funny it is. I'm wrestling with this. I have all of these feelings that to me don't fit into the Christian bubble of what good Christians feel. But also something I'm so convicted of, just the more that I study scripture and know God and allow him to know me, is that emotions are just emotions. Mm-hmm. And I love that you said that idea of, like, I can be angry and still love God with all my heart. And that's, I think, for me, as I walk these next weeks and realizing that, my body and soul and spirit, all of that, they're really weary. And when you're tired, at least for me, my emotions are much more extreme and they jump all over than they do. Like last night, I got to the point, I looked at my husband, I was like, can you please drive our daughter to school in the morning? Because I feel like I need a morning where I don't set my alarm and I just let my body rest. Because all day yesterday, my emotions were so out of whack, but I'm like, this is not, I am all of these things. It's just literally, I'm exhausted and my emotions are not aligning with what is true. And so, I did. And I was telling you earlier, but I slept 12 straight hours. Like my body was just like, we're tired. We just need rest. Mm-hmm. But I am so grateful and humbled by a God that loves me even on days like yesterday as much as he does on days like today, and as much as he does when I'm just feeling all people loving and patient and all the fruits of the spirit, versus all the days when I'm throwing rotten fruit at people.
It's good. It's good.
It's not pretty, but yeah. And can I just say, as we talk this real talk, today's the day that we hit the 10,000 listens or downloads, whatever it is. But I was thinking today, at 10,000 downloads in, Jen, I'm really grateful we get to be on this journey together. I look forward to a real talk day when we don't have to bawl our eyes out all the way through.
No kidding.
Yeah, I don't know that that's regular or not, but this has been awesome. I'm glad that we kept going.
Yeah, I know, because there was a point where we're like, I don't know, there's a lot going on. Are we going to keep doing this? And we're like, yep, we're going to do it. Yeah. So, no, it's good.
And we haven't figured out anything more than when we started, which is hilarious. It's not like we're like, oh, just kidding. We got it together now so we can keep going.
Mm-mm. Nope. Not even close. Yeah. But we keep going. So it's good.
We're going to do today. That's what we're going to do.
Yep. One day at a time, baby.
So anything you want to say to our listeners?
I would say find people, find your tribe, because in hard times like these, like we talk a lot about like trusting in God, and that's absolutely true. But the other piece of that is find people who show up and be loving and be Jesus to you and be hands and feet to you. So And you get the opportunity to be the hands and feet of Jesus to them too. So that would be my shout out. Like, podcasts are awesome, clearly, but you need real people in your life, because when the crap hits the fan, those are the people who show up, and you show up too. But that's what I would say. How you feel about that?
I love it. I wanted to find this quote. My mentor sent me this, I don't know, whatever, little meme thing. And it's going to be dumb. And it might even get edited out. I don't know. But I needed it on this day. And it goes along with have people in your life, and like have your tribe, have your people. And my mentor, especially, my life has been insane. I feel like I have just not shown up for mentoring, and yet this woman continues to speak love into my life and just is so gracious and patient as I'm in a crazy time. And she sent me this. If you've known me for any time or maybe heard me speak about this, I joke that someday I'll write a book about my life called Has Anyone Seen My Ducks? Because I've just never figured out how to get my ducks in a row. And so the picture she sent, she's like, I know we've talked about ducks in a row, so I thought of you and I read this. It says, I don't have ducks and I don't have rows. I have squirrels and they're drunk. I don't know why. It's not scripture, but I'm telling you, I just needed to hear that. So listeners, for me, I would say something we tell our students a lot, feel your feelings, but know the truth. And that's the season I'm in right now. There's a lot of feelings, but more than ever, I need to make that decision. And for me, that kind of starting to make those strokes in against the tide is this tide of feelings will continue to pull me down. But am I going to start being intentional about seeking out truth? Because the thing about truth is it doesn't shout loudly. It's a lot quieter than the lies and the emotions. And so it takes a lot more intentionality and a lot more effort to listen and to look at those things. And that's what I would encourage our people. If you're out there and you're like, gosh, I feel like my head's underwater right now and I'm going down the rapids, is start stroking, like start swimming and swim towards the truth.
Absolutely. So. It's a good truth bomb to end on, sister. All right. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Real Talk. If you want to connect with us, you know where to find us on social media. We love you, girls.
No preparation. We're just going for it.
Okay.
Wait, except who starts?
I know. I was like, wait, no prep, but who's going to talk first? I got things to say. So, sorry, Andy, if that was too loud. Sometimes my yelling does not translate well on podcast recordings. So,
pardon our Chewbacca moment.
Right. Don't worry about my weird voice things I do. It's fine. It's fine.